But how many messianic prophecies are we talking about? 3 or 4, like our other examples? Surely the odds are that more than one person who has ever lived could fulfill 3 or 4 prophecies, or even double or triple that many prophecies. Fortunately, the Old Testament prevents such an argument. By some counts, there are 300 to 400 messianic prophecies in the Old Testament. Other scholars believe that this number is a bit high. They certainly see that number of allusions to the Messiah, but count the major prophecies at less than 100. Josh McDowell has made an excellent study of the major prophecies and numbers them at 61. He rightly characterizes these prophecies as credentials that anyone claiming to be the Messiah had to have. McDowell's list contains a group of prophecies concerning the genealogy of the Messiah. If we consider only these genealogical prophecies, we begin to see just how narrow the list of candidates for the Messiah really is. The Messiah will be the seed of Abraham, the son of Isaac, the son of Jacob, of the tribe of Judah, in the family line of Jesse, of the house of David. These prophecies use a male pronoun when referring to the Messiah's gender. This excludes half of everyone who has ever lived from the pool of candidates. Abraham had 2 sons, one of whom was Isaac. Thus, half the men who have ever lived who are descended from Abraham are excluded from the pool. Isaac also had 2 sons, one of whom was Jacob. This eliminates half the male descendants of Isaac from the pool. Jacob had 12 sons, one of whom was Judah, which eliminates 11 out of every 12 of his male descendants from the pool. Judah had 5 sons, which eliminates 4 out of 5 of all of his male descendants. Jesse fathered 8 sons, one of whom was David. This eliminates 7 out of every 8 male descendants of Jesse from the pool. Lastly, David had 10 sons. This leaves an incredibly small pool of candidates. Not just anyone could make the claim and be taken seriously. But the prophecies provide other credentials that must be met by the Messiah. In his book, Science Speaks, Peter Stoner calculated the odds of fulfilling 48 prophecies. Using conservative estimates for the odds of individual prophecies, such as the Messiah would be born in Bethlehem, the chances that any one man would fulfill all 48 is 1 to 10 to the 157th power. To get an idea for just how big this number is, the number of atoms in the known universe is estimated to be about 10 to the 80th power. As incredibly large as this number is, it must be remembered that there are at least 61 major messianic prophecies. If the odds of 48 prophecies being fulfilled are statistically close to 0, how much greater are the odds for 61 prophecies? The improbability is overwhelming. There are, of course, some prophecies that can be fulfilled intentionally, like entering Jerusalem on a donkey. But most of the prophecies can't be discounted like that. The Messiah could not contrive his place of birth, time of death, descendants, the actions of others, such as his betrayer, or manner of death. Also, the intentional fulfillment of some of the prophecies, as mentioned above, would be a declaration that that person fulfilled all of the prophecies, a claim that could be investigated. It also must be understood that these prophecies were not added into the text later to fit the life of Jesus. Remember that Jewish interpreters use the exact same text that these prophecies came from. They never argued against the Christians by saying the prophecies were inserted. Rather, they argued against the interpretation and fulfillment of the prophecies. One of the most well-known and astounding prophecies regarding the Messiah is found in Daniel. This passage, Daniel 9:24 through 27, often referred to as Daniel's 70 weeks, gives a very narrow window of time during which the Messiah would appear. To understand the timetable, it must be understood that the word translated week is the Hebrew word for 7 as it refers to a duration of time, a period of 7s. Throughout the Tanakh, it's used to mean a period of 7 days or years. In this case, it's believed to refer to weeks of years. 70 weeks equals 490 years. The window of time given for the Messiah to appear within closes with the destruction of Jerusalem. At the time Daniel wrote this, around 530 BC, Jerusalem lay in ruins already. His prophecy said that the city will be rebuilt before it's destroyed. It also says that the decree that orders Jerusalem's restoration is the beginning of the 70 weeks. After 69 weeks of years, the Messiah will appear. This is when the window opens, and the window shut in AD 70 with the destruction of Jerusalem. No one appearing in history outside this window could be the promised Messiah. The question now becomes, when did the window open? Do we know of a decree that ordered the rebuilding of Jerusalem? And if so, when was it issued? If we did know of such a decree, then we would know the start of the 70 weeks, and the end of the 69th week would mark the opening of the Messiah's window. There are two decrees mentioned in Scripture that are very strong candidates for being the start date for the 70 weeks. One is the decree of Artaxerxes in Ezra 7:11 through 16. Beginning with the year of the decree, 457 BC, and going forward 483 years, 69 weeks of years, we arrive at AD 27. According to Luke 3:1, John the Baptist began his ministry in the 15th year of the rule of Tiberius. Although Tiberius ascended to the throne in AD 14, he began a co-regency in AD 12, making his 15th year of rule AD 26. Thus, the Messiah appeared in AD 27. This fits the life of Jesus quite well and puts his crucifixion in AD 30. The other option is the decree of Artaxerxes in Nehemiah 2:1 through 8. The decree is dated the month of Nisan during the 20th year of the reign of Artaxerxes. Artaxerxes ascended to the throne in 485 BC, giving us a 444 BC start date for the year. Traditionally, if the day of the month was not mentioned in a writing, ancient Hebrews intended the first day of the month to be understood as the day in question. Thus, the start date for the 70 weeks would be Nisan 444 BC, which is the equivalent of March 4th, 444 BC on our calendar. Advocates of this start date also point out that a year in the ancient world contained 360 days. To understand the weeks of years correctly, we must convert the 69 weeks, 483 years, to days. 483 times 360 equals 173,880 days. Beginning at March 4th, 444 BC, and counting forward 173,880 days on the current calendar, and accounting for leap years, we arrive at Sunday, March 29th, AD 33. This would be Palm Sunday, the day Jesus presented himself to Israel as the Messiah, making April 3rd, AD 33, the date of the crucifixion. Again, this astonishing prophecy could not have been added into the Scripture to make it fit the life of Jesus, because the Hebrew Bible was reverently preserved by Jews and Christians alike. The text itself has never been an issue, only its interpretation. Predictive prophecy is very important because it's a miracle that's testable. We have only to see if such events have come to pass to verify or reject a prophet. As we have seen, there are prophecies that have indeed come true and can be demonstrated. These prophecies have an extremely small probability of being fulfilled by chance. Also, these prophecies could not have been written into the text at a later date. Thus, having shown authentic credentials as ones who speak the very words of God, we have good reason to treat the messages of the biblical prophets as authoritative. More than that, we find a large number of prophecies pertaining to the identity of one man, the Messiah. The evidence indicates that the Messiah did appear according to prophecy, and fulfilled further prophecies written about him. This man was Jesus of Nazareth,